TR4 time. Hi guys, welcome to the next episode of the TR4 restorations. My voice is still low for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe not enough beer. So welcome to the Rusty Beauties garage again with the 64 TR4. Today we're going to be working on the engine block again. So in the last episode we started with the engine block, we cleaned it up a little bit, but then I got bored by wire wheeling and cleaning, and then I figured that I had some parts like seals and O-rings that I could use for the transmission, so we did something productive in that video as well. However, at some point we had to come back to the engine block because it needs to be prepped. I have lots of parts coming my way. I believe in a few days I'm gonna have them, lots of parts for the engine to rebuild, so we need to get crack-a-lacking on preparing the engine for assembly when the parts arrive. So without further ado, let's move some stuff around and get crack-a-lacking. Alright, so I rearranged a little bit, so we have everything, I believe, everything that we'll need to paint. And I thought that I was done with cleaning, but I have a lot more parts that I need to clean. I mean, they are degreased, but they still need to be de-rusted, the paint needs to be removed and stuff like that. I don't have the paint yet, I only have one color. It's gonna be two-tone engine, and it's a little bit not traditional colors, and I'm not gonna tell you what colors there are there, but at least I wanna put everything in primer. I have the primer. I'm gonna use this type of primer. So at least we can start with the primer and then we can paint with the color when the color comes. So these are all engine plates and covers and pulleys and stuff like that. But also the owner gave me a new water pump that he wants to use, and it's bare metal. We have a pulley that is black, but we don't want it to be black, so we're gonna paint over with the color that we want. Also this cross member, I don't know, when you start painting parts and you put everything in the dirty engine bay, you know, where do you stop? At some point you're like, well, should I clean up and paint the engine bay as well? Well, no, this is not gonna happen on this car, but at least this cross member I'm gonna clean up and paint. It's easy as it's out of the car. You know, this cross member goes across the engine and it's gonna be really ugly if we put it as it is dirty in the car. So we're gonna degrease it and clean it up a little bit and paint it. So anyways, it is right now 14 degrees Celsius in the shop and the heater is running. So we're gonna wait a little bit longer until it is nice and warm here. It's not cold, but for painting, I guess it needs to be at least 17 degrees. So while we're waiting, I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning all these parts. The exhaust manifold we're gonna paint with ceramic paint. We have this for that, and we also have to dig out the intake manifold because we want to paint that as well. It's gonna look nice, right? Of course, I'm not gonna hold you for all that here because it's boring, but I'll show you some progress at some point. So see you later. All right, so everything is cleaned up and most of it is ready for paint. The manifold I sprayed with rust converter. I'm gonna let it sit a little bit longer in the rust converter, but everything else is ready to be painted, except there's some welding that needs to happen. So if you remember this plate here, we wanna fix this groove a little bit. We need to straighten it as well because it's bent. Turns out that this cover also was welded at some point. I don't know why. Even inside looks like it's been welded. I don't know, how do you make a hole there? Anyways, I'm gonna grind it very little here just to make it smooth, because when it's painted a light color, which it is gonna be, and this is like literally the top because it sits like that, right? So that's gonna be seen. So we're gonna grind it a little bit here. Then here, this has been welded, or actually it's been brazed. This has been welded, but the welding is... Anyway, so we're gonna work a little bit on this. We're gonna weld them better. But first I'm gonna start with painting some of the parts because I don't even know where I'm gonna hang them. I guess I'm gonna put like a line here and I'm gonna hang everything. We will see. Rusty is wearing his bathing suit because it's apparently super hot in the garage now. It is 18 degrees Celsius, so it's good. It's good for painting. So anyways, I'm gonna wipe whatever I can paint with thinner, because there still might be oil residues, especially from my gloves. So I'm gonna change my gloves and I'm gonna wipe some part with paint thinner, and then we're gonna start working on the other ones that need to be worked on. Alright, so I assembled the engine to a certain point and then I painted. Instead of masking those surfaces, because I don't want, where I have gasket, I don't want to have paint. So instead of masking that surface, I can just put the cover on, and this way the cover and the front plate remain unpainted there. Also here between the block and the plate, there's another gasket there, and again, there's no point of painting there. So this way, only the surfaces that we want to paint are going to be painted. So I assembled it here. So now the only masking that needs to happen is here. I was thinking also to put the pedestal, the distributor pedestal here, but I painted it separately because I wasn't going to be able to paint here in the back. So now I'm going to mask here, 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 and here, because normally I would put the head on top and paint that, and the head and the block are protecting each other's gasket surface, but the head is gonna have to go to the machine shop soon, and there's no point of painting it before that. So I'm just gonna mask this surface, and then we're ready to paint. The rest of the parts are already in the primer. All right, it's the next day, and I don't have much to do here on this engine, on these engine parts. I'm still waiting for my parts to arrive, so I'm slowly painting this a little bit at a time. You know, I spray a coat and then I wait for it to dry and I spray another coat. In the meantime, I started working on my GT6, so there's gonna be a video about it soon. So here are some of the parts. These are frame parts, that's why they're black. These are under the car, so we're gonna keep them black. These here are the silver. So this is the, oh my god, did it just run on me? Wow. So this is the special ceramic paint here, and I also sprayed it here on the thermostat housing. Wow, one more light is off, so this corner is getting darker and darker. Anyway, so for this I have to spray 3 coats, 2 light coats and 1 heavier coat. I am on 1 coat with this, and within the next hour we have to spray 2 more coats. And then we have to wait for it to dry for a week, and then we have to bake it. There's different ways to bake it. One is in an oven and another one is on the car. So we'll see how we're gonna do that, but we have to do that at least in a week, if not longer. So these are the parts that are gonna be the same color as the engine, which I'm not gonna review yet. I'm gonna show it to you when the spray arrives, because I still don't have it. But this cover, together with these parts here, the pulleys and the oil sump, are gonna be in, are you ready to see what color? Okay, let me show you. This one. So they're gonna be yellow to match the car. This is the closest yellow that I found to the car. It's a little bit more, or I don't know, bright, I would say, than the car, but that's the closest one. So this is the car, and this is this. Unfortunately, there's no other lighter yellow. So even this one I had a hard time finding. It needs to be engine enamel because it's high heat. It's up to 500. It's up to 500 Fahrenheit, you see. If we just use regular paint, it might not hold. So that's the color that they're gonna be. So now I'm gonna paint this and the oil sump, but I'm not gonna paint this cover yet because I'm gonna keep it here. And when the other color arrives, the other tone of the engine, we're gonna spray the whole engine and we're gonna spray here around. And we're gonna use this cover just to mask this area here. So we're gonna have a little bit of overspray on the cover with the other tone, but then on top of that, we're gonna spray yellow. So that's gonna be the last part that we're gonna have to paint. And the head, of course, which is gonna be later. So anyways, let me spray these and I'll show you when they're done. All right, it's the next day and I got the paint for the engine. Are you ready to see what color it is? Me too. I know what color I ordered and I know what color the cup is, but sometimes they don't really match. Like the yellow, I was expecting it to be a little bit more mellow. But anyway, so let's see what color that is. Oh yeah, I actually like it. I wish the yellow was a little bit more mellow like this too. Okay, this can is $40 and I waited for it like 10 days to come. Like we said, the cover we're not gonna paint now because we're gonna paint it yellow later. Okay, it's actually lighter than, look at the cup. And on the picture it was a little bit darker. When it came I was like, I wanted it to be a little bit darker. And now it's even lighter than the cup. Anyways, it is what it is. Look, we have a package. Nice. Let's see what's in it. What? Nice. Maybe these are our parts. Another one? Like, how? Oh. Just, come all at the same time, can't you? There you go. Oh. Okay, hopefully this is the last one. Oh, this one is heavy. Oh. Where are they coming from? Like, really? I've been waiting for parts in the last 3 weeks, and now they come all at the same time. It's unbelievable. Anyways, is there more? No more. Okay. Well, in this case, let's see what we have here. I don't know where to start. So this is probably about 7,500 Canadian dollars worth of parts, because most of it is for the TR4, but I also ordered some parts for my GT6 for my engine, so we should have those too. There you go. So I'm not gonna go through everything, or maybe we should, so we can check it out. Should we? Yeah, as long as we find the invoice. There you go. Found it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take everything out and then I'm gonna start putting it back in. So did I mention that all this came from Moss Motors? Yeah, it came from Moss Motors. So thank you, Moss. So the thing is, I use a mailbox in the States because I'm in Canada, as you may know, but I ship everything to Niagara Falls, New York on the American side. And from there, I have an agency that deals with all the customs duties and stuff like that, and then they deliver them to their facility that is 10 minutes or 15 minutes away from me. When I ordered everything, it was actually between Christmas and New Year's Eve. And on 29th, December 29th, everything was in my mailbox in US. So it took 2 or 3 days for most motors to ship everything to that place. And then from 29th of December, today is January 16th, finally I got my parcels from Niagara Falls, New York to Toronto. But I guess it's because of the holidays, because normally it takes 3-4 days from Niagara Falls, New York to here. Anyways, finally we have everything. I'm just gonna go through everything. I'm not gonna hold you here. I'm gonna show you all the parts when I start using them, and we're gonna go from there, but we got lots of stuff. Oh, that was a lot of presents for Christmas. So now I'm gonna go through the invoices by what I saw. I'm gonna check everything because otherwise it's gonna be crazy. And then I'm gonna clean up a little bit. There's so many boxes and paper again, I don't know what to do with them. Let me finish here, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the camshaft bearings because it's time to do something productive in this video. Not just painting and opening boxes, right? Well, here are all the parts actually painted. I just wanted to show them before I put them away so we can start working on the camshaft. It's an interesting combination of colors, isn't it? All right, so the engine is upside down, and you can see here now where the camshaft is going. So this is where the 3 bearings go, and yes, we only have 3 bearings. This is where the distributor goes on the outside. So instead of a journal for a bearing there, the camshaft has a gear. We can open it now, that's the new camshaft. So that's why there's no bearing here. And here in the front, the camshaft has a journal, but here our keeper acts as a bearing. So the keeper that goes right here in the front, that is what acts as a bearing. So we need to make sure that's in a good shape, which I checked before, so I haven't ordered a new one because normally these are pretty good. So let's open the camshaft. So for those of you who are interested, this is the standard camshaft. We didn't get any of those upgrade ones. It's not reconditioned, it's brand new. It doesn't have any numbers on it though. At the back here it says something, but it's DMC 1022 310 466, I believe. I don't know if you can make it out. Anyway, so that's the front end. So as you can see here, this is where the keeper goes, and these are the 3 bearings. This is where the gear for the distributor drive shaft goes. We have 2 wide journals, 1 narrow journal. That's why the bearings are also like that. Here we have 2 cams for the first cylinder, 2 for the second, 2 for third, and 2 for the fourth cylinder. And this cam here is for our fuel pump. Anyways, we don't need the camshaft for this. I just wanted to show it to you. I'm gonna put it back in the packaging. From Moss, this is part number 851060. And yeah, here is the number 301466. So to remove the old bearings and to install the new ones, we're gonna use this camshaft bearing tool. And just by judging which socket was used often, I know that this is the one that I need for these bearings, but you can go and check here inside the manual. There's a chart that tells you So that's 1744. So 1 3/4 almost. So here is the chart. And as you can see, number 2 socket is for between 1.700 and 1.925. So 1 3/4 is right in between here. And also the washer that we need is 1 3/4. So the washer that they refer to is, I believe, this one. Let me see. So this is the 1 3/4 washer, and we also have this one, which is, I believe, 1 inch. Yeah. So there are 2 washers, 1 1/4 and 1 3/4. So this one is 1 1/4, I believe. Yeah. It's less than 1 1/4, but they call it 1 1/4. Anyway, so 1 3/4 is here. Let me show you how this gets assembled now. Let me show you all the parts so you understand how it works. So this is actually a bolt. You see it goes through. Well, it's not a bolt, it's a threaded rod with a nut on it, but they put this pin through, so now they turned it into a bolt. You have this taper here, and you have these 4 pieces of this cylinder. When the cylinder gets compressed into the taper here, these 4 parts open. So when we tighten this bolt, the washer pushes the, I don't know what these 4 parts are called, 4/4 of the hole. It just pushes them towards the taper, and then this diameter here expands. So now our socket number 2, when it goes there on top, the socket is created by the same 4/4 here. So exactly the same thing happens. As the part underneath expands, the socket expands. This is rubber on top, so the rubber expands. And if we have our bearing on top of it, it just compresses it inside. And now we can use this to literally hammer the bearing into its place. For now, of course, we're not going to put a bearing on it. We're going to use the tool to remove the existing bearings. Now here, we're going to put it inside the bearing, like this. Then I'm going to reach with my wrench in the back. I'm going to put my cone up so it can center the thing. And then I'm going to tighten it. I'm turning the tool. And now we can hammer it out. Now here it's important, don't put your hand close to this gap because there's an ouch there. You know what I mean? Put your hand up on this corner somewhere just so you can push the cone towards the engine block and hold the shaft a little bit, and now we should be able to hammer the bearing out. And just like this, our first bearing is out. So now we can loosen it. The tool needs to go back so the bearing can go in. And this is our first bearing. Now we can do the same with the second one. I'm just going to tighten it very little because it turns out that we can expand it way too much. This is our second one, and then our third one. Now I'm hoping here that I have enough room in the back. Okay. What happened here is I hit the end with my tool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip the socket around. That's not how it's designed to work, but otherwise I have to remove the block from the cart, and I don't want to. So hopefully now with this part I can push the bearing out. There you go. Alright, so these are our new bearings from Moss Motors, part number 827010. So these are our new bearings, and as you can see here, they are not one piece. So we have to be very careful with them. These two, you can't mix. They are the same. However, where they go there, they are different. One has 3 holes, one has 2 holes. However, they gave you 3 holes on both of them, so you don't mix them up. And as you can see, they're not centered. So obviously, the bearing has a direction, whether it goes this way or this way, which we're going to determine now. I'll show you how. And it also has a position. All these holes, they have to match holes on the block that are oil passages. Let's look at the one at the back first. Well, first of all, I flipped the engine the right side up because I wanted to show you something here. There's this hole. Yeah, we're doing cam bearings, but you know, everything is involved. So this hole here matches a hole on the head, and that hole on the head goes through the entire head and matches a hole on the pedestal for the rocker shaft, and through there we deliver oil to the entire rocker shaft. So obviously all the oil for the rocker shaft comes through this hole. But where does this hole go? Nobody knows. See how deep that is? It's this deep. So when we flip the engine around, I'll show you exactly where the other end of this hole is. All right, so this is our last bearing. And when I reach through the bottom, through that hole, you can see where the other end is. So obviously, we need to match the hole on the bearing with this hole so the oil can be delivered to our head. If we don't match that hole on this bearing, we are sentencing our rocker shaft and our rockers to death. But that's not the only one, because we have another one that comes from here. This is coming from the main bearing here, and that's what actually delivers oil to this cam bearing, and from there to the head. So you see, everything is like a chain. So there's another hole, obviously right here, that we need to match with the bearing. And of course, on the outside, there's the third hole that we need to match, so the screw can hold our bearing in place. So that's why we have 3 holes on our bearing. And through this angle, you can see that this hole at the bottom, the hole that comes from the deck, is not centered. And if you look at this one is also pretty much at the same level. So these 2 holes are these 2. And then this one, which is pretty much centered, this one is for our screw on this side. So this is the direction that we need to put the bearing in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna eyeball it for now, how it needs to go. I'm gonna put it something like this. I'm gonna put this here so I can see it. All right, so now when we look through here, we can see more or less whether the holes are matching or not. You know, the bearing is not all the way in, but you can see very little part of the hole. I'll take this out and I'll put it at the bottom now. Is this matching? Let's see the last one. Well, I think it's good. I don't know if you can see the hole on the bearing, but I think it's good. All right, I think I centered it as best as I could, and in this case, I'm gonna try to make a really tiny mark here on the bearing and on the block. And now I can put it on the tool and try to get it in the right place. We shouldn't forget to flip our socket now. We're gonna clean it as much as we can, the socket, because we don't want anything on it that might damage our surface on the bearing. Then we're gonna run it through. We're gonna put our bearing on it. We can't put it out of the block. We need to put it only when the tool is inside. Okay, let me bring you closer now. So I'm just gonna keep going until the edge of the bearing now is close to the edge of the block here. And then we're gonna have to start looking through the side hole and make sure that the screw hole aligns. If the screw hole aligns, then the other holes are gonna align too. A little more. A little more. Okay. Let's look through the side hole now. Oh, we are perfect. We need to go more in, but clockwise, we are perfect. See, so we are, come on, focus there. There you go. So you see the hole on the bearing is perfectly angled. We just need to keep going a little bit more until it matches. So I'm gonna go 1-2 taps at a time and go check again until we are there. I don't want to go over it, because if I go over, I have to go all the way out and then do it again. More. More. A little bit more. Okay, we're golden now. Okay, that's perfect. I'll show you now, but I'm gonna remove the tool first so you can see better. So, all right, so now you can see here, see my finger in the back, the hole lines up perfectly. But we need to make sure now that the other two holes line up too. Because if we put the bearing the other way around, this hole might match, but the other ones won't match. So we need to make sure that they do match. I'm gonna be careful not to reach all the way, not to damage the surface on the other side. No. Why doesn't it match? Okay, I need something thinner because now my drill bit doesn't go through this hole. It's gonna go through the other one. Actually, yeah, that's how it is. So this is my side hole, which matches. This won't match because we're coming on an angle here and it won't fit into a smaller hole, but I can see light through there. And let me try the bottom one. Okay, the bottom one matches perfectly. And this one, I'll show you now. Come on. Do you see it now? Here in this hole you can see the light, right? So now we can put our screw here, which has, like I said, it's a special screw. It has this profile at the end, so it can go inside the hole. So if this is our bearing like that, it goes inside the hole and locks it in place. It has a lock washer on it, and if we put it without a washer, we might go too far and the tip of the screw is gonna hit our camshaft. So we don't want to do that. So once it's in, we're gonna tighten it now and we're gonna test. We're gonna put our finger inside and make sure that the tip of the screw doesn't stick too far out. That was the first screw from our assembling. We started assembling already. Okay, so I put my finger inside here and the tip of the screw is way below the surface of the bearing. So we are perfect. All right, let's do the second one. Okay, so our narrow one has two holes, and these two holes are for here. One is for here, one is for here. Here, there's nothing that goes here. We have a plug here, but you can actually see the bearing inside. I don't know if you can see it from here, but if I put the light inside maybe. So you see the light here and the hole down there. So this hole is much smaller than this hole. So the big hole is for the seat screw, the small hole is for the oil galleries. This is where the oil gets supplied to this bearing. So you can't put it this way. You have to put it this way, with the small hole on top and the large hole on the bottom. Well, somehow I didn't hit the recording button, so I installed the second bearing too, the same way I installed the first one. And now this hole matches right here, and this hole matches. So I can put the screw here and we can install the last one, which is similar to the first one, but not the same. The only difference is that it doesn't have the hole that comes from the bottom, from the deck, because we don't supply oil to the head through here. But it still has this hole here, and it still has the hole for the set screw. So these are the only two holes that we need to match. So the bearing should be installed in the same manner, again with the offset towards the front of the engine of these two holes. So the little one matches this hole here, this doesn't match anything, and this one matches our set screw on the outside. So I'm gonna put a light here in the back for now, so I can see. Okay, can't, for whatever reason, I can't make it stay. It needs to be turned just a little bit. Hold on, let me see in which direction. Yeah, it needs to be turned clockwise just a little bit, but it just won't stay where I want it. But when I put it in that position, it just doesn't want to stay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark it now, but then when I'm putting it on, I'm gonna clock it a little bit to the right. You know what I mean? So you see now when I put that's how the marks were, something like that. I'm gonna turn it this much, just a little bit. And then we're gonna start going. This one doesn't line up. Okay, so you see we failed here. I'm gonna show you now. So if you look inside the hole here, you see how the hole doesn't match perfectly. So I had to turn it clockwise a little bit more. That was not enough. Well, it happens. But that's not a problem. We can go all the way through, and we're gonna do it again. Okay, now we have to go through the whole procedure again because our mark is probably lost. Yeah. Same thing. Exactly the same thing. It just likes to go in this position. So again, I'm gonna mark it. So you see I marked it a little bit to the left. That's, I think, a little bit too much. So I'm gonna put them closer together, but not perfectly aligned. Something like that. Let's see if this time it's gonna work. Okay, that's better. I think we're perfect. Okay, I'm sorry about the light on the back, but you can see there the hole, and here too. So, perfect, we're done. All right, so now I can put the other two screws again, don't forget the special profile screws, and with that, our bearings, our camshaft bearings are installed. And this was the beginning of our engine assembling. So I guess in the next episode we're gonna start installing liners and crankshafts and all that stuff. And that's pretty exciting, so stay tuned for that. Again, I'm gonna check if the screws are sticking too far out, which they are not. So perfect, we're good. So that's gonna be the end of this video, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for commenting and subscribing. And like I said, stay tuned for now the assembling of this engine, which is gonna be interesting, I promise you. Because we haven't done a TR4 or TR3 or 2 for that matter engine on the channel for a long time. I think the previous one was like 5 years ago. Now I have a little bit more experience with them. I rebuilt 2 or 3 more in the meantime, but I haven't filmed them. But now I decided to film this one because now I have a little bit more experience and I can show you a little bit more details about it. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting and subscribing, for sharing, for supporting the channel, and for everything that you do for me, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.